Let's try computer. Okay, hello everyone. Today we have with us Mr. Rahul Abraham. Rahul has done his MBA from IIM Ahmedabad, and I would call he's a serial entrepreneur because the first company he had founded was in 2007. It was a pharma distribution company. It's named MPC Pharma, doing very well. Currently, the turnover of the company is approximately 500-550 crore. He founded another company in 2020 during COVID times, which is Haeal. It's an FMCG company. And if I'm not mistaken, the turnover of that company as of today is 40 to 50 crore. And Rahul can maybe throw light what all that company is doing and have they already internationalized or not? Because last time when I had spoken with Rahul, he was talking about to export some of the Haeal's product. Rahul, welcome and thank you so much for taking out time for this. Over to you, Rahul.
Yeah. Hi, Prof. Ma'am, thank you for having me here. It's nice to talk to somebody from campus. So just to answer your question, we have not gotten into exports yet. We started off because we were the largest pharma distributor in Kerala over the last 13-14 years. Through a bunch of acquisitions, we got into that level. We were able to sell sanitizers in 2020 Jan Feb, even before COVID. So that was a good opportunity to sell some third-party brands. And then we realized that this could be even though it's a temporary phenomenon, it was a great opportunity to play the market. So it was expected to be a 2-3 month play, but Kerala had COVID awareness for a longer period of time. So we started off as sanitizers, and over the next 6 months, 8 months, we got into personal care, which is soaps and shampoos. And then we realized everything hygiene was quite important. And starting from scratch, say a cleaning product company, floor cleaner, toilet cleaner, did not make sense. So we acquired a brand that has already been in the market for a few years, because at that point of time, everyone was launching their brand, but that was not easy to launch in the market because supermarkets, everyone has listings. It's not that you can just launch and get the product available everywhere. So we bought it. We thought buying an existing company in that category and scaling might make sense. Then we acquired a budget soap company. Then we launched our own tissue paper. So we got into a bunch of products, which are mostly home care and personal care. And in the beginning, because we thought we'll do a little bit of online also, in our DNA is completely offline. So we launched a large tail. But of recent, like in the last few months, we have been pruning that into making sure that we don't have too many products in the portfolio also. And even the brands which are not necessarily doing well, because we have 10 brands and it's not necessarily a large company. So we have pruned a few of the brands which are not doing too well. And now I think we are in the very right direction, and we've not really raised too much money. It's only mostly friends and family, mostly our own money from the other business. And I don't see ourselves bleeding money. We work a little different. So I think we're not starving for cash to grow. I think it's just...
That's interesting to know. Since you said that, you acquired a large portfolio of products and now you are pruning it, that means cutting down on certain products or discontinuing. I'm just curious to know, Rahul, that how easy or difficult these decisions are. Usually everyone wants to do more, right? To discontinue certain lines of products. Are these easy decisions?
Yeah, even in our distribution business, very recently, we've been shutting down a few offices. We've shut down a retail shop in Chennai, 3-4 offices within Kerala, which we've sold and stuff, because it is not making sense. So I think taking these decisions where it's actually something that looks bad from a societal point of view, because people think you're failing when you sell or when you prune down and stuff like that. But I think these decisions have to be taken when things are good. You don't need to wait till things are really bad to take the decision. So when we take these decisions, it's not like we are in a point of time where that's the only option in front of us. But we think if you don't take the decisions like cutting down offices or cutting down products, wherein actually counterintuitively sales, I think, increases when you cut down on few products overall, it's because you can focus better. And taking the decision when nothing is really, really wrong is easier for us. Though not easier for most people, I think has helped us along the way.
But why is it easier for you? Is there a certain decision-making criteria, Rahul, you and your team is using? Or it's very gut-based that, this won't work?
No, it is. I mean, obviously, it has to be a lot of it has to be data-driven in terms of like sales is numerical, right? So you can see the sales and you can see the P&L very clearly from that product or division. So that makes it quite easy. But a lot of it is also gut, but backed by numbers. And we are quite decisive. We take decisions fast. I mean, we have to fail fast, right? Or keep iterating fast. So we keep seeding everywhere. Whatever doesn't work, we are okay to cut down at the right point. I mean, there is this cutoff, right? I mean, you cannot stop immediately because it takes time. You need to give the business a certain amount of time for it to work. But with maybe, like, let's say 15, 16 years of experience in handling like lots of things, you end up having that kind of gut feel, which is probably accumulation of experience, where you need to take these decisions. When from the outside, it might look a little rash also, because you started a couple of years back, you're shutting down, or you just acquired this company and then you're pruning down products. But those decisions also took time. It's not that we took the decision one day, it just took time. And most of the decisions are profit accretive, because these are mostly parts of the businesses or products which are losing money for us, even from a transactional point of view, like from an operational point of view. So it's been okay so far. I mean, I would continue to take that risk and keep doing that rather than wait too long, because
Okay. Is
probably
there
in
a
our DNA.
timeline you guys decide that, okay, this product hasn't been generating sales, let's say it has been 2 years, now it's time to kind of take a call on this, or it could vary from product to product?
So the thing is this, since we have a bunch of products in home care to personal care, like dishwashers to clothes, detergent and stuff like that, we realize that each product independently itself is a large market for which we only have a small market share. So by cutting down one or two products per se, unless we see some huge potential, for example, in Haeal, we had 30, 40 variants of soaps. That is primarily because we were initially focused on the online market also, where there is a requirement for the tail. Whereas in the offline space, which is 99% of our revenue, it is mostly focusing on 5-10 power SKUs rather than actually having 100 SKUs in shampoos, conditioners combined, or all those products combined. So from a 120 product SKU count to about 20 count we have made for Haeal as a brand. That is one of our brands under Haeal. So that's the personal care one, because we thought this was contributing anyway 85-90% of a business, and managing supply chain in terms of sourcing, in terms of supplying, and then reverse logistics, because you have too many tail products, it ends up giving you a lot of expired products and stuff like that. So it did not make sense for us given our strategy. So we just took the decision to cut 100 odd products, almost 100 products in that. But overall company from 400 product SKUs, we're going to come down to about 300, which I still think is quite a large number of SKUs, right? So, but initially it looks, let's say, sexy to have a lot of SKUs, but sometimes you need to take these decisions, and it doesn't really affect our top line. So, and definitely it impacts our bottom line positively.
Okay. Because usually in this kind of segment, people say that come with a, kind of a big bunch of bouquet, where you have all kind of varieties. So it's good to know that, sometimes a pruning has to be done.
If you had your own stores where people could try products and you're in high-end malls, then that probably makes sense, where you have a much larger number of products. Whereas for us, we are selling through retail shops like a Reliance or a More or Lulu, which is popular here. So we are fighting for shelf space. So getting beyond, say, one plate, two plates in a category stuff when you're got 100 brands playing for the same space. So I think the strategy we have adopted is to go through retail. And for that, I think, at least at the stage at which the company is today, it makes sense to go with lesser number of SKUs than what we have in the personal care space. Okay. Whereas in tissues, I think it's all about having shelf space and the variants consumers want. So in tissues, we're not pruning anything, because each SKU by itself sells a lot. And it is more of a distributed product. Like tissue, I was talking to the market leader here in India, which is again an IIM Ahmedabad guy who owns Origami. So it's like you have to be like a Bisleri, Kinley, or one of those 2-3 water brands. As long as it is one of those 2-3 are okay. So for a tissue, nobody's going to go look for a particular brand of tissue. But as long as you're within that consideration set of 2-3 brands, it'll work. So it is more of a distributed product where there is some amount of trust that needs to be established. But whereas when it's a soap or even a floor cleaner, people will look for the brand and they want that particular brand itself. Whereas in tissues, which is more of a cohort-based purchase, is our thought process.
Okay, interesting to know that. So, Rahul, I know you for many years now, and would you like to share that as an entrepreneur, what are the most difficult execution challenges that you faced? And could you overcome those? Or if not, how did you manage those and move ahead? Because execution is the toughest part, right? A lot of entrepreneurs get stuck there. So if you can share something from your journey.
I think execution, especially I think I'll talk about a little bit more earlier days, is that you think only you can do it right? And only you can do it, and nobody else can do it as well as you. Probably nobody else can do it as well as you because nobody else is as invested or has as much to gain as you. But and you try to do a lot of things operationally. But as an entrepreneur, if you spend too much time being in the operation part of the business, then you don't get too much time to think. So I think as an entrepreneur, most of us have to actually do a lot of thinking and take very key decisions, and that's where most of your time should be. But when you're doing say 5 crore, 20 crore, 10 crore per year, it might not necessarily be possible. So there is an inflection point or point at which you kind of move on. So it's all about hiring people and empowering them, and getting them to do things, because if you want to scale operations, then you need to have good people doing things and delegating things and empowering them. Like if they have to come back and ask you for everything, which still some cases it still happens to me, where I tell them, why are you asking me for approvals and stuff? But unless you do that, you can't scale. So since the very beginning, I've traveled a lot. So which initially had problems because the business would suffer a bit. But over a period of time, people become reasonably empowered. And in 2009, right after I started the business, I thought I was indispensable. I had a major car crash and I was off for 1 month, and the business grew that month. So then you realize you are not indispensable as you think you are. So,
But Rahul, one of the things I totally hear you that delegation is very important. And when you are an entrepreneur, you are the leader of the organization, you have to get that mental bandwidth to think long term, to plan out things, right? But at the same time, one of the common issues in startups, in SMEs, we see is hiring the right kind of talent and retaining that talent. I mean, whoever I speak to, they say, ma'am, where is the talent? And it's an irony that in a country where unemployment is so high, every other person is looking for job, and then the employer says, especially entrepreneurs and SMEs, that where is the right talent?
so this I tend to disagree with people who are saying. So I've been part of a startup which is let's say based in Bangalore, though I'm not directly now involved. It's just like a very minority investor. So I've seen the talent that comes in from the VC world kind of people, where there's lots of money, lots of conversations, a lot of big talk. Whereas we've built the team from the ground up. So people need not necessarily be the most educationally qualified. They might not speak English too well, but over the years they get trained. So first thing as an entrepreneur is, don't expect the same level of output as you would do. If you start expecting that, that's not fair, right? You're paying somebody 15,000, 20,000, 25,000, and you can't expect the same level of output or commitment as you. But commitment can happen over a period of relationship and all that. And training happens. And you will, and initially we have hired a lot and fired a lot till we got the right fit. So it is not impossible to find. It takes a lot of time. Initially, I was very impatient. Now, with having hired thousands of people, we have only a 400-member team now, but I'm guessing we've hired a few thousand, 2,000 people over the years. So you get a sense of who would be a reasonably good fit. It can still go wrong, especially in sales, because people can sell well to you, but not necessarily go in the field. So I think hiring is possible, and hiring and firing is required till you find the right person. And if it's these are people who start at the lower end of the job in the beginning, firing them when they're young, if it's not a good fit, is not very difficult because jobs are available. At the high end, it becomes a little difficult to fire and hire just like that. But getting them on the right this thing and keeping on training them, because if you are starting up and you're an SME with reasonable size, you are completely involved in everything. You have a touch point with most of your employees. So you will know who is good, who is not, and then you have to empower them. You most likely, the person who's probably talking about this is not empowering these people and not okay with them making mistakes, because mistakes are bound to happen. So find people who make mistakes and learn from those mistakes and don't do the same mistake again, and keep letting them make mistakes which are within your controllable limits. And Yeah.
I understand you did it. I understand that I teach that in my class,
Yeah.
that delegate with control, delegate with clarity, empower people. But at the same time, it is very difficult to do, especially in the early stage, because people say that,
Yeah.
even if we delegated, the other person did not deliver. And how many times we'll keep hiring and firing people? Ultimately, we need some stability. Even if we found a good talent, that talent is valuable outside, ultimately we are struggling to retain it. So is there advice you can give to entrepreneurs that how to retain the right talent?
I think okay. I have friends who are much better at me at delegating and have thousands of employees. But still, what I've seen from them and also what I see is people don't leave. This is what some of my good friends say, and I completely agree. People don't leave your company for a better salary in most cases. I mean, they might leave for double the salary, or they might leave it if the industry is itself a mercenary kind of industry. But in general, people leave because of culture issues mostly. So, and if the employee is valuable for you and valuable for somebody else, if as long as they see they're growing in terms of their value, in terms of what they can probably achieve as knowledge and stuff like that, then they would stick with you. So I counter the point that it is just money that people leave for. So if you build the right culture, people will work for a discount. Because
But is it easy to build a culture when the startup is relatively new? Isn't the culture comes little later into picture?
in the beginning, the entrepreneur or the promoter's culture is the culture, right? I mean even in the later stage it is the same. So I think the personality with which, how you deal with people, I think is how you talk to people, how you respect them. And uh, and I see that a lot. I see a lot of people who are very respectful to their let's say bankers or investors, but very disrespectful to say the security guard for a vendor that they're meeting somewhere or something like that. So I think when you're respectful across and you're genuine, people see that. And employees, in a small and a large organization, there's a lot of grapevine, and people judge you. As an entrepreneur, you're always being judged. Whatever action you're taken, there's a multiplier effect in terms of what people think of you, and reputation is being built as to whether you're short tempered, which I am a little bit, but or if you keep your word. I think honoring your word is quite important. So, and being empathic, having a lot of empathy in terms of even if you have to fire, give them enough time. So, stuff like that. It's not, and fire only if you have no other option. Like we try to relocate to some other division currently before we fire someone. So I think that's, so retaining talent is not obviously not easy, but pay market salary as much as possible close to it, but give them opportunity to grow. And if you sell them the story of what they would be when the company becomes larger, and if they are part of the earlier team, then I think more likely than not, most people will stay. And if you diagnose the problem as to why people are leaving, unless obviously it's a doubling of salary or something like that, which you can't match maybe, but because there are issues wherein if you had to even match for that key employee, then the rest of the people have issues, because
Yeah.
you have a team where then there'll be disparity within the team. So you probably need to fix performance based plus base pay to kind of compensate for outlier employees where you still need to retain them rather than make it a base differential, right? So it's tough, but it can be done. Entrepreneur है, जुगाड़ करना पड़ेगा ना, तो मैनेज करेगा.
That's true. But don't you think, Rahul, that you have this MBA from IIM Ahmedabad? You can talk about performance linked pay and incentives. Not every entrepreneur is very educated or exposed to management education or values incentives. My observation has been usually they think incentives as extra kharcha, extra
Huh,
cost.
huh, huh. I think that has very little to do with management itself per se. It has to do with the mindset.
Hmm.
And as long as it, so there are two ways to look at it. It's from a company perspective, also, I'll mention, and also from this is you could have 100% of the profits in a small company, or you could have 60-70% profit of a larger company.
Hmm.
Or from a dilution point of view, you could own 100% of a small company, or you could own 20% of a very large company.
Hmm.
So owning 100% of the company, if it's small, it doesn't matter. And owning 20% of the company, which is really big, it doesn't matter whether it's 20 or 25 or 15. So similarly, you have to share profits with employees. So if you and that and like the joke here and like IIM Ahmedabad, obviously the degree helped us open a lot of doors, especially in 2007, 2008. Now we don't even talk about it. But in the beginning, I had IIM Ahmedabad printed on the card to get entry with doctors and stuff like that, which now my wife makes fun of me for that. But I think this is just common sense. Business, especially the trading business that we do, is a lot of common sense and empowering people, which I don't think is necessarily because of pedigree of education, which some people may or may not have. So it is a mindset thing, and that has to change with probably exposure. So I think meeting people who do differently, talking to people rather than just watching videos or just listening or podcasts, and going and interviewing people that you think is what you aspire to be will probably get you a lot more insights and something that that you relate to, and B, probably you would if it comes from somebody like that you respect, you probably would act on it. So I think it's a mindset issue, not necessarily a karcha is karcha, but if you do that karcha, maybe your 100 rupees profit becomes 200 rupee profit.
Yeah.
And end of the day, net profit of the future is what matters, right? Like in some sense, obviously today matters, but the incremental net profit that you can achieve by doing that is something that you need to figure out. A smart entrepreneur might not say the word incremental, but just say जितना धंधा बढ़ेगा उतना sales profit बढ़ेगा, जितना profit बढ़ेगा हम और देंगे employees को, because of that और धंधा बढ़ेगा. So that's the whole idea from a business point of view. That's what I think.
That's very interesting. And Rahul, I can talk to you for hours and you have so much to share, but you and me have decided to keep it short so that, people get the most from less time. So we would have to kind of close this interview, though I have so many more related questions. I think I'll kind of curb my desire to ask those. So one of the key message I'm getting from whatever you have shared, whether it is execution related, whether it is hiring or retaining talent related, whether it is decision making related, that delegate, empower people, keep your mental bandwidth free so that you can plan, you can think long term, and that will also help you in growing big. Besides this, anything else, one line if you want to share, Rahul, before we call it a day?
Yeah, I think the cliched keep trying and fail fast is one. And second is, not everyone can always take full time off to think about the business. At least take occasional breaks of 5-6 days where you can think just about the business, or just think, because the business is, if you're a true entrepreneur, all you will think is the business anyway. So just take a break for 5-6 days when you would actually think. And you're not as indispensable as you think you are in most cases. Thanks.
I completely agree with you that we might think we are extremely important. Without us, the business won't run. But I think that thought process is a problem in itself. Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you so much, Rahul. Truly appreciate your time here. Thank you so much. And hope to touch base with you again. And I will look forward to your contribution to this series more. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.